Oh, of course, we've had some intense flooding in parts of the Western Cape this past weekend, but we are by no means alone. Other parts of the world also underwater. In the United Kingdom, it's been reported that 2 weeks' worth of rain fell in just 1 hour yesterday. The Met Office has since issued a number of flood warnings. Well, let's get the very latest. I'm joined by our London correspondent, Olly Barratt. Good evening to you, Olly. I understand that all this rain fell on poor Manchester. Talk to me about what happened and if there was any damage.
Yeah, people who know Manchester will tell you it's almost always raining there anyway. But joking aside, Manchester did bear really the brunt of some of these storms as they moved across parts of England and Wales. Manchester was quite badly hit. There was some flash flooding seen in the city centre. There was some damage to property, and not far down the road in Sheffield in Yorkshire there was also some pretty significant flooding there. We had to see some individuals needing to be rescued from some of this flash flooding as it very quickly took hold in those locations. And as you were saying, we did see around 2 weeks rain falling in just around an hour in a couple of those places. So it really was very, very heavy rain indeed. Other parts of the country that were affected too, in Wrexham in Wales, Wrexham Football Club, you'll be aware, the club that is now owned by Ryan Reynolds, Hollywood royalty. The catering department there said that part of the building was damaged by a leak because the flooding happened so quickly. And then in some other parts of the country you just saw outbursts of very heavy rain and thunder, wind and lightning in places too, but it was those parts of northern England, parts of Wales and some parts of the Midlands as well that really bore the brunt of these storms. The warnings were in place ahead of them, so residents were expecting some of this bad weather, but when it came quickly.
I believe even the cricket, the Ashes, was disrupted for a period as well.
That's right. Edgbaston is where the first game of the Ashes is being played, and there was some really very heavy rain at Edgbaston yesterday as well, which led to a couple of breaks in play over a couple of hours or so. When the players did get back on the field of play at one stage, there was also quite a lot of water still on the ground. So while the pitch itself in the middle was dry and functional, you saw fielders sliding around on the outer rims of the playing surface as they were trying to get balls that were being hit left, right and centre, and you saw the fielders having to try and keep the ball dry. So it did disrupt things there, and now as we head towards the final day of that first Ashes test, it could yet be the case that that missing chunk of play from yesterday has an impact on the final outcome, be it a win for England or a draw, or even a win for the Australians.
The Met Office has issued a number of warnings. I just want to get a sense, Olly, on whether there's worse to come or whether the worst has passed.
It looks like the worst has passed in this particular bout of weather. There were a number of warnings in place. Now, some of those areas of the UK that had warnings in place didn't actually see anything particularly untoward. Here in London, for example, what we basically got was a couple of hours of fairly steady rain, nothing really to write home about in terms of causing any damage. One of the reasons, though, that those warnings were in place is that actually the rain came off the back of a sustained period of high temperatures, but also particularly dry weather. And that's why the warnings about flooding were in place, because authorities knew that the rain would be coming down quickly and heavily on ground that has been very, very dry for some time. And that often does cause flash flooding, and that's exactly what we saw in some of those locations.
And Olly, you know, we know that England gets a lot of rain. How much of this is fairly normal, and how much of this is due to intensifying weather patterns?
Some of it's definitely normal. At the same time, what the weather experts here in the UK will say is that, as for many other parts of the world, what we're seeing is greater extremes. And so that was really illustrated by this bout of weather, was that it came, the rain, off the back of this very long, very dry period. And when you get those extremes of weather, that's what causes problems. And certainly we have seen here in the UK some very extreme weather over the last couple of years or so. so, and increasingly so. You'll remember that not far off this time last year we saw temperatures getting up to around 38, 39, 40 degrees Celsius, hitting records, and it's those kinds of extremes that experts say are being caused by climate change and are the kind of thing that we should expect to see more often. So in some ways this has been a good example of over the last 24 hours or so of the types of thing that experts say we may well be seeing more of in the years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 weeks worth of rain in 1 hour. That's pretty scary. Olly Barratt from London, thank you so much.